Morning, everybody. My name is Pete Burbidge. I'm the Miller Park Zoo curator. I'm here today with Keeper Eric, who's behind the camera, and today we are going to be checking out our beehives. For those of you that saw our video from last week, we received 3 packages of bees from Miller Park Zoo. We installed them into these hives about a week ago. Today we're just going to be doing checkups, make sure that the queens emerge from their queen cages, that the workers have been feeding and have started comb production. I'm not expecting to see any honey yet, I'm not expecting to see any brood yet, but if we do see that, that's great. This is just to make sure that they're getting along really well in here. We're going to give them some extra food. And if the queen is visible and doesn't have a mark on her, we're going to go ahead and paint the queen as well. We use a non-toxic acrylic paint marker, and we're just going to put a little dot on her back if we can find her. So as you can see, I am all suited up. I have gloves on, bee hood and suit, as well as long pants to help keep these bees from hopefully not stinging. Bees naturally don't want to sting because when a bee does sting you, it does die, so stinging is the last resort. But to help keep the bees calm, we do have our smoker with us today, which does have some smoke pellets in it. The smoke helps mask the alarm pheromones and other calls that the bees may have if we go in there and mess with them. So no more talking, let's go ahead and open this thing up. Now the beehive does have 2 boxes on it. The lower box here of our hive is mainly all comb. This is just a feeder box, so when I take the lid off, you're going to see the only thing up here right now is jars of food for the bees. They have drank some of their bee juice, so I'm not going to need to fill it too much. With the warm weather the last few days, they actually have been out collecting pollen on their own. So we may even see a few bees in here right now with it. It is kind of chilly out, so they're not out and active quite yet. But taking the lid off, you can see the bees already in here. So I'm just going to go ahead and put a little smoke on them. I'm sure you can hear them. There we go. So let's go ahead and take one of these frames out. Oh wow, there's a little more development than I thought there'd be. So you can see the bees have already started to make comb through here. I don't see any eggs in that comb quite yet, which is okay. That's normal.
Is that honey up there already? See that top?
It doesn't. Yeah, there's actually already little bits of honey in there. You can actually see. So the bees are starting to produce, which is nice. Help keep their colonies nice and full. Bees do eat their own honey. It's not just for us. A healthy hive can make 100 to 200 pounds of honey in a season, and they eat that year round. That's their food stores. So in fact, this comb here is actually filled with a lot more honey. You can actually see a lot more in there. They're starting to make it. So very nice comb development, very nice honey stores. And you can actually also see the colored cells in here. I'm gonna go ahead and smoke them out of the way. That is actually pollen. So that's the pollen they're bringing back. Looking good, bees. All right, let's take this out, see if the queen has emerged. I'm gonna go ahead and bet she has. Set that down.
If you've got questions, you can start asking them and we will answer them.
Here is the queen cage. And I do not see the queen. Is that her? No. Tell you what, the cage looks like it's been opened a little bit, but we're going to go ahead and crack it open the rest of the way. There we go. No, queen is out. So that means she is somewhere in this hive. So I don't want to spend too long in here because these bees have been really busy. It looks like they're doing a really good job. You'll be able to tell which one the queen bee is. She'll be much longer than the normal bees. She may have a mark on her back. Not 100% sure if this queen is marked or not. But the other way you can tell where the queen is the worker bees will be trying to feed her. So you'll see several bees shaped around her, trying to make sure she's well fed and well kept. And as you can see, the bees are not being aggressive at all. Nobody here is trying to sting. Nobody is trying to scare us away. That's because we're being nice and gentle with the bees and just really slowly moving them out of the way. Certain hives you can actually work without protective gear. I do not recommend doing that right away. I don't know these hives yet. Every single beehive has a different personality. And I don't know these bees well enough yet to do that. So we're just still taking every precaution, being gloved and everything else. So I tell you what, I want to put these guys back. They are doing such an excellent job. I don't want to disturb them too much. I'm just going to take one quick look here, see if I can see our queen. And if not, we're going to move on to our next hive, because we do have 2 hives to look at today. But nope, I don't see her. So we're just going to go ahead and put this back. They don't need any more food. They do have plenty of food here, so we're just going to slide this back on top and then close up the lid. So this is an excellent start to a beehive. This is a lot of progress. I didn't expect to see that much comb development or even that much honey at all during the first week. So the fact that they're doing that already is a very, very good sign for summer. So let's go check out our second hive, which is just down the way here. But before we do that, I am going to replenish our smoker here. We did run out of smoke pellets. So we're going to go ahead and just toss in a pellet and light it up.
Britt has a question.
Yeah, Britt, go ahead.
How much honey can one bee make during its lifetime? Do we know that?
Yeah, it's actually very little. A single bee working to make honey will only make about a teaspoon to a teaspoon and a quarter during its entire life. Worker bees only live for 6 months. And during those 6 months, they have many different jobs. They aren't just honey producers. They're also egg carriers, comb carriers. They all have different things to do. So not every single bee in the hive is responsible for getting pollen and making honey. They all do many different things. But when you have thousands and thousands of bees, all of that does add up to a very good functional system. So let's head on over to hive number 2 here. So again, it's the same process. We have our box down at the larger box down at the bottom that holds our comb. And then we have our food box on the second level here. So we're going to go ahead and open up the top and see how much food they've eaten. And it looks like we have ants in here. So we're going to have to clean this out beforehand. We don't want too many foreign bodies going in because they'll also go after the honey. So we'll give this a good cleaning. Ooh, they've already started to cap it in. And oh, that's a much bigger group. We're going to go ahead and put some smoke on that. There's a drone. So there are 3 different types of bees in a hive. There's the queen, which there's only one of. There's the workers, which are your normal female bees. And then during the summer, there's something called drones. Drones are male bees. They're much bigger than the workers. They don't have stingers, and they don't do anything to help the hive out like the workers do. Their entire job is to mate with queens. So they will actually go out, find unmated queens, and mate with them. Oh, this is a much higher production hive. Wow, I am really impressed. Look at that comb. That is some nice comb. They are looking good. we're going to see if we can find the queen in here. I'm going to go down and look at the queen cage, see if she's out yet. Now I can tell they've already started to make a lot of wax because a lot of these panels are starting to stick. So we use our spreader here to just pop them loose. Oh, that's tight. That's heavy. Look at all that comb and look at that honey. They're already making some up there. That is very nice. Very, very nice. And this side too, very full. And there's some more bee bread, which is the pollen. Good looking pollen. Very nice. And let's pull out the queen cage here. There we are. Ooh, this is tight. And we have some more comb development. So here is the queen cell box. She's still in there, so actually what we're going to do is pop this open. And I'll see if I can take the queen out and show her to you guys. There we go. So come on over here, because that's the queen. That really long bee right there, that's our queen bee.
She marked?
She is not marked. So what I'm going to do, take out my little marking pen here, so we can pop a little green dot on her before she gets away. There she goes. Whoop. And she's colored. She's got a little bit of green on her. So I'm going to go ahead and put her in. There she goes, in with the rest of her hive.
Well, we have the queen out. Brianna wants to know, how do bees determine who the queen is?
So bees will actually, when they go to lay eggs, every egg can start off as a worker or a drone or a queen. And what happens is if the hive needs a queen, those eggs will get fed a special concoction called royal jelly. The royal jelly will then help turn the eggs into queen eggs. The cells for normal bees look just like normal honeycomb, and they're capped over. Queen cells are much, much longer. They're about double the length. And what happens is the bees will make several different queen cells. When the queens emerge, the very first thing a brand new queen does when she comes out is, if she's the first queen, she will actually go through to all the other queen cells and rip them open and kill the other queens. There can only be one queen per hive. There can't be multiples. So the first thing the new queens do is actually eliminate the competition. Now that usually only happens when there's either a death of the queen for some reason, or the hive splits. When a hive becomes overpopulated, like if every single panel in here were full and there was no room for the queen to lay new eggs, she would take half of the hive and she would leave. The workers that stay behind would actually find that brood that hasn't been turned into workers or drones yet, and then make queen cells out of it. And then a new queen would emerge. After she's born, the queen goes off and mates. She'll find drones from another hive somewhere out in the world, and then she will actually find her way back to the hive she was born in, and then start producing for that hive. Queens can live 5 years, and they only mate one time. And after they mate, they can lay hundreds and hundreds of eggs, actually thousands and thousands of eggs during that hive's lifespan. Without having to go out again. The workers only live for about 6 months, and drones only live for the season. So they're only produced during summer. And in fact, it's kind of interesting to see that once the fall weather turns, once we go from hotter to cooler weather, the workers will actually kick the drones out of the hive, so they don't use any of the resources to stay alive. bee hierarchy is insanely interesting to watch. So again, this is a very good looking hive, very good looking brood. I'm very impressed with the progress they've made. Now what I'm going to do here is just clean up the feed box here. I want to make sure we get these ants out because I don't want them to eat any of the bee food or take any of the food away from the bees. So we just give it a good brush off.
Joe was wondering why we needed the queen cage. What was the purpose of the queen cage?
So the queen cage is only because she was a brand new queen. It helps identify her when we get her, and also it helps to introduce them a little slower. If you actually were to just get a brand new box of bees and you were to just let them out, if the queen wasn't set in one location, the bees could just leave whenever they wanted to. You could set all this up perfectly, and then the bees would just take off before they had a chance to build. The queen cage helps keep the queen in one spot, so the bees have time to build that comb and get honey stores going. And that way when the queen does emerge from her cage, it encourages them to stay. So the queen has been here for about a week. As you can see, they already have a good starting hive going. So that means now they're going to stay here. They're not going to want to use new resources to go anywhere else. So it just helps encourage them to live here.
Grace's mom is really curious about the honey. She wants to know how we get the honey out and then what we're going to do with it.
So right now, these eventually will make honey for the zoo. You don't want to take the honey too soon because it is their food. It is the way they store. So for right now, we're going to leave everything where it is. Now eventually, once we see what's called brood, which is new queens or new workers being made, we'll add another stack of these cells to the second level here. That's the beautiful thing about these hives, is you can add more and more comb as needed to help keep these bees looking good. There's a special panel called a queen separator. It's just a piece of metal with a bunch of little slits in it. It looks like the top of a grill that worker bees can walk through, but queens can't because the queens are too big. So what we'll do is we'll actually put that down, put a second box on top of it, and then basically the workers will put all of their honey in the top area. And then the bottom will have some honey, but it also have all the eggs. So that second box will just be honey, and then we can go through and take a certain percentage of that out and keep for us. We actually have a honey strainer. We'll actually take the comb out, take the honey out, and then we can bottle it and then use it. In the wild, bees will just mix their honey in their brood anywhere they want to. But in captivity like this, we're able to separate where it comes from and where it goes.
Okay. Tammy has a question about raising bees. She says, can children who are as young as Spencer, who's 7, raise bees?
I don't recommend children raising bees. It is intensive. You do have to check on the hives at time to time. You are going to get stung. It does, even wearing all of this protective equipment. You know, we're going into their homes. They're not aggressive animals at all, but they are defensive. They want to make sure that they're not being hurt or taken advantage of, and it does happen even through all the protective gear. One was, I'll try to show it to you. One did sting my finger here while we were working in there, and that is a bee stinger with the venom sac still attached to it. So the bee, they're injected into the glove, and then you can actually see the venom portion there that still is pumping venom into the glove right there. So he was just protecting his home. I don't recommend this for children. This is a very cool hobby. It does help the environment. It helps add pollinators to the area. One beehive can service 6-7 miles away, pollinators and gardens. But it's a very intense job.
Charlie, who's 6, wants to know how the bees make the honeycomb.
So the honeycomb in wax is a secretion that they make. Let the truck go by. It's just a special makeup, special thing they eat. from all the matter they can digest and push it out into that comb wax. Honey is a little different. Honey is made by bees eating nectar, putting it into their special honey stomach, which then gets passed on from bee to bee until it becomes super concentrated, and then eventually turns into honey, which they will dry out and cap. Honey is one of those things that actually does not go bad. Pure honey they found pure honey jars in ancient Egypt that was thousands and thousands of years old that is still edible because of the low water content, the high sugar content. Bacteria doesn't really grow in honey. It's amazing good natural sugar.
Okay. Britt wants to know how often we check on the bees.
So during the summertime, when they've been out and about, you can actually just look at them from far away, and as long as you see bees going in and out, you don't have to do a whole lot of checking. When the plants are blooming and the flowers are out, we don't really have to feed as often. We will do supplemental checks. So this time of year, especially with brand new hives, we want to check them weekly just to make sure they have enough food. We want to make sure they're developing really well. We want to make sure that we're keeping all the other pests, like these ants, out of the hive. So we'll go through and just clean it up, make sure we're looking good. During the summer though, it's maybe once every 2-3 weeks. During the winter time, it's actually even a little less than that. We will wrap the hives, we'll insulate them. We give them special food for winter, which is actually called bee patties, which is like fondant and other sugar patties with high additives for them, so they have the ability to eat during the winter. But you also don't want to open the hives when it's too cold or too hot. They actually are very good at controlling their own internal temperature in the hives. But you also want to make sure we're not messing with it too much.
All right, just a couple more questions. Mike wants to know how the bees determine who does which job.
That's up to the bees. They actually communicate with each other. They just know what they're supposed to be doing. The female, all the workers just know what they're supposed to do in the hive. So some are on cleanup duty, some are on honey duty, some are on egg duty. They just determine that on their own.
Okay. Hillary wants to know how many bees we have.
So if I had to guess, these hives probably had about 500 to 600 bees. This is still a very new hive. The number of bees in here will easily quadruple over the summer. We'll have a couple thousand bees in each of these hives, and as the bees grow, we'll add more space for them to grow, and we'll actually also separate some of the bees out and start new hives with the amount of bees that we have.
Last question is from Angie, and it's something pretty topical. We've been hearing in the news is, are we worried about the murder hornets that are in Washington State?
I just saw that the other day. Those are some scary looking things. Not worried about them right now. Now it is something to consider as the world moves forward. But you know, I remember too, another thing we have to worry about is Africanized honeybees, making sure those African killer bees aren't in the area. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it, or once we know they're coming in.
Let me get a close up. These bees are being pretty calm. So.
Yeah. So here's some bees still checking out the old queen cage. As you can see, guys, bees are not aggressive. Bees don't want to come after you. They're actually, as long as you're gentle with them, they'll be gentle with you. You can see them crawling on me without too much of a problem right now. Bees are very helpful. Don't be afraid of honeybees. Honeybees are great to have. They're an excellent sign. They do really good things for the environment, for our native wildlife. And flora. So be kind to your bees. They're amazing animals.
All right, we'll go ahead and wrap up then.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for joining us for the live. If you all have any more questions, please feel free, ask them in the comments. I'm more than happy to come back later on and answer anything that we missed. But otherwise, y'all have a great rest of your day.
Yeah, tune in tomorrow for Giving Tuesday. It'll be great. Thanks.